A Christian friend or a Muslim one asks you a simple question: who founded your religion? And you open your mouth and nothing comes out. Not because you don't know it well enough, because there isn't one. No founder you can name, no single book you can hold up as the book, no year it began. Theirs come with all of that. A Christian points to Jesus around 300 AD, the Gospels. A Muslim points to the Prophet Muhammad 10 AD, the Quran. You point to 1,000 gods, dozens of scriptures, and a past with no clear starting line. And for a second, it feels like something's missing, like everyone else got a clean origin story and you got handed a blur. I felt that for years. I half assumed it was my own ignorance, that the real answer was out there and I'd just never been thought about it. It turns out there's no missing answer. The blur is the answer. Ask about any founded religion and you get four clean facts: who started it, which book is the book, who wrote it, and when. Ask Hinduism those same four questions and every answer comes back strange. And each strange answer points at the same surprising thing. Four questions, one reason behind all of them. Let me walk you through them, and by the last one, I think you'll see why a religion built this way might be the most relevant kind there is right now, dare I say. There are roughly two ways a religion comes into the world. One way, it starts with a person, someone has a revelation or gives a teaching, and a faith forms around them. There's a before and an after, a founding moment you can mark on a calendar. Christianity has Christ, Islam has the Prophet, Buddhism has the Buddha, Sikhism has Guru Nanak, Mormonism has Joseph Smith. You can date it to 1830, the year he published the Book of Mormon. Most religions you can name work like this: a person, a moment, a book. The other way is older and maybe a bit strange to modern ears. Nobody starts it, it accumulates. Generation after generation adds to it, and no single person is ever the source. Think of science, for instance. Nobody founded it. Newton didn't, Einstein didn't, each one built on what came before. Hinduism grew a little like that. Many seers over a vast stretch of time, each adding to a shared inheritance. Except what they were exploring wasn't the outer world of matter but the inner world of consciousness. So it's not science, but not one prophet's revelation either. Something built by many over a very long stretch of time. The people inside this religion didn't even call it Hinduism. That name is surprisingly recent and it came from outsiders. Hindu began as a Persian word for the people living beyond Sindhu, the river we now call the Indus, which mostly flows through Pakistan now. A geographical label, those folks across the river, long before it was a religion. The word Hinduism itself was popularized by the British only about 200 years ago for something already thousands of years old. What did the people inside it call? It's Sanatana Dharma, the eternal order, the way things are. Sit with that name for a moment. It isn't the religion of a teacher, it isn't the religion of a book. It's the eternal order. Because to the people inside it, this wasn't a religion, one option on a shelf next to others. It was just what's true. The water they swam in. You only need a name for your faith once there's that rival faith across the river. For most of its life, there was no river at all. Sanatana Dharma was the only game in town. And here's the engine that did the building. When the Buddha came along and broke away, rejected the Vedas, started something new, Hinduism didn't excommunicate him. Over the centuries, it absorbed him. Today, many Hindus count the Buddha as the ninth avatar of Vishnu. Sit with how strange that is. The tradition took the man who walked out of it and folded him back in as a form of God. Aurobindo, the thinker I read on this, puts it in one line: Hinduism doesn't cleave asunder, but reconciles and unifies. That reflects, gather, don't wall off, is the real answer to question 1. No founder because no one was ever the source. It was built by gathering over a very long stretch of time. Like I said, other religions have a book. In fact, the Abrahamic religions are called the religions of the book. Ask a Hindu and you don't get a book, you get a library. The Vedas, the Upanishads, the Gitas, Brahma Sutras, the Puranas, and more. And no single book of them outranks all the rest. People have their favorites, but there's no equivalent of the book, the one volume that if you lost everything else would still be the religion. And that's not disorganization, it's the same gathering instinct frozen into the bookshelf. A founded religion gets its book from its founder. One source, one volume, sealed. A gathered tradition accumulates a shelf because every age added its own layer without throwing out the one before. So the missing single book is really just question one's answer showing up a second time. No founder, so no founder's book. So go to the very bottom of all of this. The oldest layer is the Vedas. If there's one voice anywhere, it's here, but there isn't. The hymns of the Rig Veda are credited to about 400 different seers or rishis. And we know that because the text keeps its own receipts, so to speak. Take the most famous Vedic verse of all, the Gayatri Mantra. Before you chant it, the tradition recites its credentials every single time. It goes something like this. Vishwamitra Rishihi, Gayatri Chandaha, Savitar Devata. The seer is Vishwamitra, the meter is Gayatri, the deity is Savitar. Seer, meter, deity. Stated upfront like a byline. Now multiply that across whole Rig Veda, every hymn tagged with the seer who received it. The book is in effect signed hundreds of times by hundreds of hands. The oldest core is even sorted into family books, each belonging to a lineage. Gritsamada, Vishwamitra, Vamadeva, Atri, Bharadwaja, Vashishta. The Gayatri itself comes down from the family of Vishwamitra. Of those roughly 400 rishis, 30 were women. Lopamudra, Ghosha, who composed her hymns while living with a lifelong illness, Apala, and the one worth stopping on, a seer called Vakambhrini, who composed the Devi Sukta, the great hymn to the goddess in the 10th book of the Rig Veda. Here's what stops me about it. She doesn't write about the goddess from the outside. She writes in the goddess's own voice, in the first person. I move with the Rudras and the Vasus. I am the queen, the gatherer of treasurers. Whomever I love, I make mighty. A woman thousands of years ago giving first person voice to the supreme power of the universe, and the tradition didn't bury it. It kept it, sang it, built a whole branch of worship on it. So when someone tells you the oldest layer was one man on a mountain, it wasn't. It was hundreds of people, women among them, one of whom spoke as God. Here's the strangest and perhaps the most impressive answer of all. There's no single manuscript because for what may have been thousands of years, none of it was written down. It lived entirely in human memory. So how do you keep a text perfect, not the gist, the exact syllables across that long with nothing to check against? You turn human voices into an error correcting mechanism. Let me show you, then explain. That's the plain way, straight through, the way you'd read a sentence, but that's not how it was guarded. Watch what they actually did. That's Jatapatha. You take the first two words and weave them 1 2 2 1 1 2. Then roll forward 2 3 3 2 2 3. And on down the line. There's a harder one called Ganapati, the bell, that folds 3 words at a time, backward, forward, all the way to the end.
तत्सवितुस्सवितुस्तत्तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं वरेण्यगुं सवितुस्तत्तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं सवितुर्वरेण्यं वरेण्यगुं सवितुस्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो भर्गो वरेण्यगुं सवितुस्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गः.
Actually, it's so hard that a master who can do it for an entire text by heart has a title of his own. He's called a Ganapati. So why memorize it scrambled like that? It looks like show off. It isn't. It's what makes the text impossible to correct. Think of the telephone game. A phrase whispered down a line, each person reshaping it a little until the end is nothing like the start. We all must have seen this game. That's why most spoken texts drift over centuries. But notice why it drifts. Everyone's speaking their own language, so when a word slips, the next person quietly fixes it to whatever makes sense to them. The meaning papers over the error. The Vedic chant had the opposite problem, a harder one. Here the exact sound is sacred, not the meaning or the gist. The gist isn't the point. The precise syllable, the precise pitch is the point. And nobody is leaning on meaning to catch a slip. So how do you keep a sound perfect for 1,000 years with nothing written down? You scramble it. On its own, that slip might slide right past. But in chant, that word never stands alone. It's logged in, paid and reversed with the word before it and the word after it, over and over in pattern after pattern. So the moment it's softened, it stops fitting all those patterns at once. The mistake sticks out like a wrong note in a song everyone knows by heart, and it gets caught on the spot. Engineers actually have a name for this trick. Storing data in overlapping copies so any single error gives itself away. They call it a checksum. And it's how the phone you're watching this on keeps a file from corrupting. These reciters built one out of breath and memory thousands of years before the math was written down. And it worked. The Rig Veda has reached us with effectively no variant readings, the most stable oral tradition on earth. UNESCO named Vedic chant a treasure of human heritage in 2008. And this is where the four answers become one. No founder, no single book, no single author, no original copy. That's not four holes in the story, it's four views of the same fact. A founded religion needs one prophet to carry it. This one needed an entire society to become the book. Every generation a living memory rechecking the last. It was never handed down by one person. It was held up together across the ages. So the next time someone asks, who founded Hinduism, or you feel the flicker of a missing answer, here's the thing to hold. Nobody founded it, and that's not the gap in the story, it is the story. It was built the way a coastline is built. No architect, no opening day, just enormous forces working over an immense stretch of time until you get something more intricate than any designer would have drawn. You can't name the founder of a coastline. Same here. And notice what kind of religion that makes it. It never asked you to just believe. It asked you to check, to test it in your own experience and walk away if it doesn't hold up. No founder to vouch for because it was never meant to rest on anyone's authority but your own seeing. That's Sanatana Dharma, the eternal order, gathered, not declared. And it didn't stop with the Vedas, it kept gathering. 3 more times, but that's a whole other video.